What's up, everybody? Episode 3 of the TorqueTalk podcast. I'm Rick and Randy, and as always, with me is across the table over here. Actually, your point of view is from Mr. Powers Jeremy, and today we're with Mr. Gamerstig. How's it going?
Going good. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're obviously glad to have you on the show here. Hard to believe it's already been. How long has it been since our last one? It's been almost a month, I think. I'm not sure.
A little bit.
But
Yeah, just over.
But we're here with a longtime GTA racer, Gamerstig, and let's see, where can we start here? So you've been in the community for almost a decade. You're a day one player of GTA. Big fixture in the racing community. Were there any other games before GTA that really got you interested in racing, or is this the first one?
Oh man, I mean, probably the first racing game I can remember like running home to play was like Need for Speed Underground 2 on the PlayStation 2. That's a classic.
Did you ever mess with Midnight Club or any of those games?
I never did. I was like a Need for Speed, like diehard, probably up until this came out. Which I didn't even think this was going to be a racing game. I just bought it because of the hype. But
Yeah, I feel that's an interesting thing to kind of touch on. How many people actually in the racing community really expected GTA to be a racing game? Probably not many.
it's one of the greatest like mistakes Rockstar's ever made, but somehow they've made the greatest racing game that's not even a racing game.
I know it's really people say it's arcadey and stuff, but it's for what it's very good. But kind of want to backtrack a little bit here and kind of touch on like when you first started playing GTA, and even before that. Have you always been like a PlayStation gamer? Have you been an Xbox? Where did you really start in like your whole gaming,
Oh, man. I think
life?
the first console I ever had was a GameCube, and I'd play like Nintendo games and shit on it. But then PlayStation 2 was like the first one that I really started like actually gaming on. Like I could understand what was going on.
Hmm.
And then
How old were you?
Oh man, that would have been probably like third, fourth grade. I think probably like 10 maybe.
Because I remember the first console that I ever played was PlayStation 2, and I actually still have all my PlayStation generations up to PS5.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. But so you were pretty much a Need for Speed freak. So you go to GTA. What's kind of the first moment that you kind of saw GTA racing and you were interested in it, and how did you, I guess, get your first, dip your foot in the water to the racing community? Open lobbies?
Yeah, it was kind of just open lobbies, and like you would like kind of how everybody was doing back then. Everybody like there's lobbies up everywhere, like everybody's doing everything in the game. It's a new game, and like I met this guy named J9, and he was the leader of Rank at the time. That crew's since gone, but I met him, and I was like I was fast right off the get go, and I was beating like people in his crew, and they were like a racing crew, like they do crew battles and stuff. And I was beating people in his crew in like open lobbies. And so he messaged me, he's like, "Hey, do you know about, the racing community?" And I was like, "Well, no, this is GTA. What do you mean, racing community?" And then he introduced me to kind of like everything else from there. I started gaming with him, kind of led off to finding the community that way.
And just for kind of reference, describe what those tracks that you would have been racing back then were like.
Oh, that's just back then. Like this is pre-creator, so this is like your standard, like down the
Yeah.
drain, or all those just Rockstar created terrible tracks, poles dropping everywhere. There's no non-contact, so you're racing contact with randoms.
What was your favorite one that you did back in the day?
Man, there's one at the docks I was really good at. I never got any world records or anything, but back then that's all we had was just those. And still even later into the community, that's what some people, that's all they wanted to do was just those tracks. And I'm like, man, we come a long way. We can give up the Rockstar stuff now.
I still know a couple a couple guys in the community that still do that kind of stuff. And when the street races and the hot pursuit races came out, they were all over that kind of stuff. But so you get started, you get with a couple of guys, and talk about some of the events and kind of some of the people, crews you would have been in and out of back in those times.
So it started in ranked, and then I got invited to one of the most. It was like the original core play. It was core playlist before core. It's called Al. His name was Al Byers, and he hosted probably I'd say 5 to 6 playlists every single night. Like I'd come home from
Wow.
school, he's hosting playlists, and this is like late PS3, early PS4. And I mean, it was you had to be in there quick because they filled up. If somebody left, somebody was there to fill it. And that's where I got introduced to the race crew. And that was by far the fastest crew that there has ever been in terms of like the people who were there. They weren't the greatest of people, but the people who were there, the amount of people that were there, that was the fastest crew at the time.
Who were
And
some of the kind of the main fastest guys you would have that people would probably recognize?
oh, I mean that they had a crew v crew team. Like they had their own team.
Oh,
That's all these people did. And you had Murphos, Neo, Manny aka YOLO, Hot Pocket, King Dark Eye, which he's the fastest man I've ever seen on GTA, and a couple others. And I got to the point where I was a reserve for that, and I only ever did one crew battle, but I never finished ahead of any of those people.
yeah, those guys. Neo, Dark Shadow, obviously.
But they went on. I don't think they ever lost a crew battle when they were at their peak. Like it was just absolute, just destruction. But they had been that crew had actually been around since GTA 4. They had migrated over because the racing community kind of started in GTA 4 towards the end because that's where people found curb boosting and it got brought over to here.
Yeah,
But
I was actually yeah,
that crew
that
was
was
wild. And then I never really thought about like events on here. I knew like the crew battles were going on, but I never knew about events until uh, a guy named Taz posted in the GTA because back then Social Club, that's where everybody got learned about everything. It was like before people really started doing websites. And a guy named Taz from Apex, he posted in there about an event, the Sports GT series. And I was like, man, that sounds kind of cool. And he's like, oh, you got to join Apex to be in this. So I was like, okay, what the fuck's Apex? Well, he sends me this link to a website because they were one of the first big crews with a website. It was like a whole forum. And I get to this thing, and it is like they're doing 5 or 6 events every weekend, and I'm talking full events. Like you got to sign up prior, and you got to know somebody. And then that was the first real series I ever did with Sports GT, and that would have. It's kind of like what the JP series is now, to compare it. And I did that, and then and then my teammate for my first season was Shaggy G Unit, big YouTuber. Got to meet him. He's a pretty cool guy to meet in person. A lot better than Bruffy. But I teamed up with him, and we were in the 9F for that season. And at the time, Nima was like he was basically the DJ back then of all those series. Like if you were gonna win a race, you had to beat Nima. And so that whole season, I'm running second in points to Nima. But at the same time, our team is in a battle with a guy named Uchiha, who was extremely fast, but he was just in a slower car. And somebody else, I can't remember who his teammate, but we were in an intense battle. And we went into the last race leading the points championship. And then Shaggy bailed and couldn't make the last race. So I finished second to Nima in points and won the last race, which was my first event win ever. But almost won the team championship. Would have been really cool.
And that kind of that leads me. I want to backtrack and chat here. We got also hello to everybody in chat. There's quite a bit of you guys right now, but I want to touch on something Bazaar said a couple minutes ago, and he said, "How is Second for Life doing?"
Oh man, that goes back to the Albires playlist. So when I started consistently joining them, there was a guy named Manny, aka YOLO. He is one of the greatest people, nicest people you'll ever meet. But man, he was fast, and that's who like I would run second to in that series, in that playlist every time. And I remember the first time I beat him in a race, I felt like I was the shit. Even if he probably would have wrecked or lagged out or something, I can't remember how it happened. I just remember
A win
I
is a
beat
win.
him. Yeah, I was like, fuck, I beat him. I finally did it. And then finally beating him in a playlist was just like, oh my god, I finally won one of these things. But no, that's second for like, and then it carried over to like all the events I do. I finish second in points. It's like in TNS now, I'm finishing second in points every week. And it's like, man, fuck.
We'll get to the TNS portion, and obviously I want to touch on a lot of that and kind of your whole opinion and kind of how your GTA NASCAR career has gone. But back to the topic of so you're doing these Apex Stalkers event. Kind of briefly touch on, and this is for the NASCAR people in the community that may or may not know, and I think we talked about this a couple years ago when we did the history of the GTA NASCAR podcast.
Yeah.
But touch on the Apex Stalkers NASCAR series a little bit.
Okay, so to talk about that, I also have to talk about that's how I met Core. So
Right.
In the beginning, nobody was doing. Everybody thought NASCAR was stupid. Like, why would you do like none of those guys are like NASCAR. Most of them are from overseas. Like they couldn't give a shit about NASCAR.
That remains true to this day.
Yeah, facts.
It does, and it is very unfortunate.
Except for Bulldogs, he is the shit. You're awesome, Bulldogs. But it basically Waddy, who's also another Australian, was like, hey, I built like it was really crude. Like if you look at, I've got it on my channel, you can go check that out. But it was like the crudest NASCAR. It was made of barges, but at the time, like that was amazing to me, and I had always been a NASCAR fan. And I was like, oh my! Like, as soon as I saw it on the website, I was like, I'm signing up for this. And so that event was gonna happen on, I think, Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember. But on that Friday, the core playlist had been going for, I think, 3 or 4 months. And Waddy reached out to Daniel because at the end of every core playlist, Daniel would run like a slipstream catch-up, kind of a fun track to kind of break the mood up.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, okay, could you put this track on here to help promote the event? Because, not a lot of people want to do NASCAR. Let's show them how fun it is. And so he does that, and then Waddy messages me like, hey, they're going to do a practice this time. So that's how I found that. And that event went. But that's how I kind of met Daniel and all the core people. It was, man, looking back on it now, that was like racing with a bunch of randoms.
Compared to today's kind of standards.
Like there are no rules. They did the finish by like the lap before. So Rockstar didn't decide the finish. It was like the lap before, but nobody was actually standing. But nobody was standing at the line. So it was just kind of. And it took forever to figure out who actually won it. And it was like, man, it was crude, that first one. And then they started a series after that, which was I didn't get to do all of them because I had work and other stuff going on at the time. But those started doing good. And then after that, the NASCAR stuff kind of fizzled out for a long time. We had heard, kind of once I got in the Corps, we had heard about like the R Mob and everything, but we didn't hear the greatest reviews of R Mob. So we were very hesitant
So I
to
was
join
gonna say,
that. Then we heard about IROC, and then the reviews were kind of the same. But Torque was, it was different. We heard some good stuff, and stuff went good.
so so even before that, right? So you're in Apex Stalkers, and you kind of get the word that Core is doing these playlists and stuff like that. Who was the first one from there that you really got in touch with to be a part of that?
It was actually Daniel, because I didn't know this, but back in a previous, it's kind of like the Sports GT series, big multi-class, but with supercars. And K-Dog, who was in Core at the time, he invited Daniel to a race. And when he invited somebody to race, I thought, okay, this dude's going to be super fast. Like, I'm going to have to look out for this guy. Which, no offense to Daniel, and he knows this, but Daniel's not the fastest person in the lobby. And I was like, man, who the fuck is this Daniel guy? I've shared this story with him before. And I was like, man, who the fuck's this Daniel guy? And I kind of forgot about it because he didn't do any more with us. He just did the one-off. And then it was about that time that Apex was coming to the end of its life, as you would say, as crews do. There was some internal leadership problems, and it's kind of how a lot of crews end up going. But it kind of was ending, and at that time I was kind of looking, and I was also, well, I was really a race crew. That's who my crew tag was at the time, was race. And I was a tester for them. I would test people, see if they were fast enough to get in the crew. And I was in one, I'd started joining the Core playlist kind of regularly. I was kind of messaging Daniel back and forth because I was like, man, I like what you're doing here. And then one night, because the race people, like, they monitor, they want to make sure you're in that crew tag. Well, before the playlist, Daniel would host like the pre-lobby, but you had to be in the Core tag. And I would always switch back to race tag before the race because people would stream, and I didn't want that getting out there. Well, I didn't. Something happened that I didn't switch back, and then they like demoted me in the crew, which at that time was a massive fucking deal. And so it was also the time where race had kind of fallen from grace. It was kind of doing the same thing Apex was. Like the leadership, original leadership kind of wasn't there anymore, and the new leadership kind of didn't know what the fuck was going on, and it was kind of a power struggle at the top. And so after that happened, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm done with this. And then I just joined Core from that point on. But no, Daniel, I started doing that with Daniel, and then K-Dog had well, he didn't leave, but he kind of got kicked for some other actions he had did. And Daniel needed somebody to kind of help, figure out lap times and
Do the testing and stuff.
yeah, help to kind of set up the events. And I helped him do a bunch of that, and it kind of goes from there.
Kind of the rest is history with that.
What year roughly was that, Stig?
I joined Core when Core was 6 months old.
Wow.
So I can't remember exactly how old Core is now.
I believe they started in 2015.
So probably
Okay.
almost like 7, 8 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it was back then. Back then, that whole crew loyalty thing was a massive thing, and I didn't really ever care for it. Which now it's not that big of a deal.
But yeah, back in the day, even with like, I mean, kind of hesitate to bring it up, but like the R-Mob and IROC and the crew loyalty was a huge part of, being in the racing community.
Oh yeah, and it was like that with the
to an
crew
extent,
battles.
yeah.
Because that's what really spawned it. It was like those people doing the crew battles, like they're representing the whole crew, so like they don't want to see you not wear that tag somewhere else. Like that's your home at that point.
That whole dynamic is, I mean, pretty much non-existent these days in
Yeah.
the GTA racing community.
Especially with, how these crew battles are going now, people, swapping back and forth between different various crews, teams, or what have you.
Looks like I helped, what was it? I want to say it was crap, but I don't think it was crap. I joined that crew just to help them in a crew battle one time. But, yeah, like that whole crew loyalty thing's stupid. Like, as long as you're in the crew and doing what you're supposed to, I mean, that's what it's really about.
Yeah,
not being a prick or something.
Yeah, all I cared about was racing and, having a good time doing it, and not the baggage that comes along with, shit that happened that I have nothing to do with,
Yeah, it's like, I just want to join and chill in the pre-lobby and then do a playlist. Like, I don't care what my tag says. I'm fucking in the crew.
I'm here.
Yeah.
If I'm here.
I will say, one crew that was really like that, and I'd never liked this crew, but it was Espero. Which, Bacano, he's kind of he's a character. I'll give him that. But, they did one NASCAR race, and that was, I will say, I've got that on my channel.
I've seen this many times, this particular race that you're talking about many times.
Oh my!
If anybody wants to check it out, go check out Gamerstig's channel. It's on there.
So that event came up, and Bacano invited all Core to come do that. Well, we didn't have, because they had all the kind of like real fast hotheads who we didn't really. Most of them had been kicked from Core for one reason or the other. Well, we didn't really want to race with them, but they said they had a slipstream on race. Well, that was our wheelhouse. Like, that Core did that twice a week after the playlist. And we knew that none of them were ever going to work together. Because they all want to win themselves. They don't want to help the other person. So I got in a party with Daniel and DJ, and I was like, look, DJ, if me and you, the whole race, just work together and never leave each other, we will lap that entire field. And we came within about a couple 100 feet of lapping Neo at the finish. And that is the only time Neo has almost, that's the closest Neo has ever came to being lapped.
For reference, Neo Dark Shadow is regarded as probably the best, if not, one of the best to ever grace a track in GTA. And say what you want about Slipstream and stuff like that, but... you kind of got to know what you're getting into when you're getting into one of those races if you want to be good. So,
yeah.
DJ went on to win the race. I finished second, back to second for life. But
back to second.
But man, it felt so good, and I think me and DJ at the end, we both knew, like Neo, we could see Neo, and we both were pushing hard because we were like, we want it. Like he was the rabbit. Like we fucking wanted to say we lapped him. We didn't do it. We were close. But I will say the funniest part about that event was a guy named Nick J11. He was in there, and he had got kicked from 4 for doing something in a feature, driving backwards in a featured race or mouthing off to somebody. But he knew what me and DJ were doing, I think, from the start. And so he was in the lead when me and DJ finally got up there. And he was with trying to work with a lap car, but it was obviously they didn't know how to fucking work together. And when me and DJ passed him, he couldn't get our slipstream because we timed it right. And when we passed him, he was like, "Well, they just won the race. They're gone." And we never looked back, and then we ended up lapping him. But he knew, like, as soon as we passed him, like, they're gone. May as well just go to the house at this point.
That's pretty
I mean,
cool. Not
we
many
went on to
people could
put.
say that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we went on to put on a master class, and he never raced that series again, and he never did another NASCAR event again. But,
Retired from NASCAR. Just spreading
oh,
the good NASCAR love out there, Stig.
we
One
put
is
him in their
enough.
place, son. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was textbook. I mean, if anybody wants I know it's not the hot ring or anything that we do nowadays, but if anybody wants a good example of how you're supposed to work together, that's a definitely good one to watch for as far as that goes.
Oh, I remember coming back because Migos, he's a great person too. He used to stream everything, like all the events he was there, he'd stream everything. And Migos was streaming that event, and there was a car meet going on in Core at the time, and everybody at that car meet was watching the finish of that race for me and DJ. And we joined the party back with Daniel, and he is just like screaming happy that we fucking did it. Because he had his doubt. He was like, man, because him and DJ both were like, I don't know if it's going to work, man, because they're fast. And I was like, look,
Yeah.
if we just work together, they're not going to do it. None of them in there can fucking get along with each other for more than 5 minutes. So it's like, if we just work together on this, we can beat them. And we did it. So.
Hell yeah. That's a cool story.
That is. So where are we? Where are we in our timeline?
So he joins Core. He's doing
Yeah.
feature races. He's doing the playlist Wednesday and Friday. They're doing feature races after they join
The
a
featured
Bacano
races.
event.
Man, the featured races is what drew me to Core. Because I liked the NASCAR stuff. Nobody's doing NASCAR except for the few Apex events, which they were not the greatest, but they were a start.
Did you have any, ambitions or any, really interest in joining like R Mob or anything at that time? Or did you even know what, they were doing or?
We knew about them, but it's kind of like I said, their reviews from people who had left there and came to Core were like, I don't know, man, that doesn't sound like the greatest thing. Because it kind of became a very close-knit community in Core where a lot of people didn't go outside to race. And we were like, and when we did, it was very selective. But it was like, man, the reviews just ain't there yet. They're not what we're looking for. But back to the featured races, I had the longest streak of doing those without getting a win. I think I went like 8 months to a year, never got a win, because it was after the playlist with everybody. And I was like, man, I'm never going to win one of these fucking... I'd lost... It was like Earnhardt winning the 500. I could not win. I could not win a featured race to save my... I'd won the playlist multiple times, couldn't win a featured race. And then once I broke through and got one, I don't know if anybody's got more, but I went on to win over 100 and something of those at 2 a week.
I love those feature races. They were so fun because can't remember. I joined, it may have been my second or third one that I joined. And I joined with OMG Dolphin.
Yeah.
And both of us got hit out of the track on like lap 2. And we came back and won there. Those races were just so fun to do.
It was like what they were made for. It's like just to relieve some stress, like cool off after a playlist.
Especially if you've been, running hard.
Oh yeah, if you've been competing all night.
Yeah.
Which at one point they were connected to the playlist, so it made it even more difficult to win. Because then the people at the top, if it was a close playlist, then they got to do good in the featured. Then you got to do good in the featured race
to win the whole playlist.
Not connected anymore, but I mean it used to be. It used to be something on those. But no, I remember winning my 100th one of those at Charlotte. That was like when people really started making NASCAR tracks. And that is one thing. That's one thing I do. A lot of people don't do. Is when I win like a major event like that, I keep all the cars like the way they were. Like I've got every event win I've ever did, and like big moments like that. So, but man, winning those featured races was cool. And then, of course, now winning torque races is even a lot more difficult, but it's still fun.
It's definitely a big accomplishment to get one of those wins.
Oh,
And I know catch up slipstream around, but I mean, you got to kind of be really lucky to get one.
Oh, it's a lot more. I mean, I won my first TNS race, so it's like, I don't know. I guess the magic of like going so long without a win wasn't there for me on the TNS side, but still winning a TNS race nowadays is still just one of the greatest feelings. Even winning the truck race last week was still good. Also, thank you for that truck, by the way.
You're welcome. I prepared it with love
I
and
know. We
care.
were drag racing to the finish line, and I was like, man, this truck's going to win one of these.
Man, I thought we could have got one too. I thought I had it off of 4, and it's like, damn it, DLJ's gonna give him a push. And I was trying to block Bear so he would give me a push, but we got top 3, one in first and third.
Yeah.
So
still a good race.
The fast black trucks ended up with a good result.
Oh, definitely.
It's a good segue, and I want to backtrack a little bit. So you win your first, featured race. You win a lot of those, and you weren't very interested in joining RMOB or IROC for whatever reasons, different reasons. And then what made you, finally decide to join a TNS race? And what was that? I mean, obviously you said you won your first one, but a little more in depth. Like what was that whole process of joining that? How did that come about? And what was it? What was, your take from it?
So DJ, I think you had reached out to DJ, and he had did a few one-off starts in season 1 just to kind of go out, feel the waters, and see what is Torque gonna be different from IROC and RMOB, or is this just another rebrand of the same bunch of idiots? And he went out and he won. I think he won a few races that first season. He didn't make all the starts, but he came back and he was like, "Man, they're good people. It's a little rough. They got a few rough people in there, but for the most part, it's good people." And I think next season, the original plan for season 2 was we were gonna run just select starts like he did in season 1. Like we didn't, because it was like 14 or 15 tracks you guys had on the schedule at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, I don't want to do that's a big schedule.
It was definitely a haul.
16,
oh yeah, I was like, man, I don't want to do that.
And then it went to 16.
And I don't know, but we did Texas. That was one of the tracks we would do as a featured race, and I loved that track. It's still my favorite NASCAR track, even though Jeremy hates it. It's still my favorite NASCAR track of all time. And I was like, man, okay, well, I'll do Texas. I didn't want to do Daytona because I knew that was just going to be an absolute cluster of a race, in my opinion. Turns out it was actually Texas. But
you picked the wrong one, as I'd say.
Yeah, I went backwards.
Daytona was great.
Yeah, I was like, damn, I fucked that decision up. But I don't know, like we got in the race and I qualified second, so I was like, fuck, second for life again. Goodfellas on the pole.
That's right.
It's like, damn.
Shout out to Goodfella.
And it came down to the last, and it was like caution after caution after caution. I was like, man, DJ, what are you talking about? These guys are doing. Like,
and everybody watching, there was like 24 cautions in this race. I mean, this is
it holds the record to this day for most cautions in a TNS race at 14 in a 99 lap race.
Yeah, like we come to a midway break because it like I get in a party with DJ and DMX. I was like, man, guys, I don't know about this. This ain't going good. But like, we're gonna stick in it. We're gonna see how the end of this thing goes.
See it through.
And then we ended up going on, and the last 2 to go, I passed Cartman down the back straightaway, and then they get too wide behind me, and I go on to win the race because Cartman can't get around me. They're too wide. There's basically nowhere to pass on that track once you get in the lead. And I win that race. And after I win that race, I'm sitting there like, man, I think I can win this championship. And then we
So
start doing a couple more races, and I ended up. That's actually, I think, statistically my best season. I ended up winning like
yeah,
4 to 5 races
yeah,
that
like four
season.
races wins that season.
And looking back on it now, I'm like, damn, I wish I would
Made
have
it.
did Daytona, because Cartman only beat me by 15 points. And if I'd have just showed up and finished like almost dead last, I'd have got enough points to win the championship.
I
Yeah.
think if you had ran Daytona, you probably would have won the championship
Oh,
that season.
100%. Participation points alone would have given you the points needed, I think, to win that championship.
I forget how many people were in Daytona, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think one thing that kind of sets that season apart is I didn't really care if I got kicked because I was like, I don't know, it's not core, so it's like an outside thing at the time. So I was like, I'm just gonna go in there and just drive my ass off for a season, which I did get a couple. I got a strike I almost got kicked out. I got a strike in the morning, so.
So
So
DJ just said something interesting in chat that I want to bring up. He said Gamerstig is 1 out of 9 different drivers to win a GTA 5 NASCAR Sunday Series race on his first start.
There's actually two of those guys in here
It-
right now.
is it? You did too? So
I did.
we just hit 400 people, 400 drivers, I should say, have now started what in the NASCAR PlayStation community we consider competitive series, and we've kept track of them since the beginning of all this. And 400 drivers have competed in the various crews and series, and 9 of them have won on their first start, and 2 of them are sitting right in front of me. So that is thanks, DJ. Pretty cool.
And for reference, it took Jeremy 55 races. So believe
Yeah.
if it can take him that long, it took Josh like 100 races, but
man,
if you're in it, you can win it.
It's tougher now. I feel bad for the guys coming in now because it is just brutal.
It's a stacked lobby now.
Unless you're rubber duck and then you come in and just win right away.
But going back to that first race though, it's crazy to think because if I wouldn't have won that race, no
probably-
3 of us were running that full season. And
So I was gonna say, would you guys have actually, if you didn't win that race, would you have ever raced again in NASCAR at all?
I think I would have raced again, but like the whole timeline of like us running full seasons, maybe even like me and DJ ever getting to the Senate, that probably would have never happened because we would have never ran full seasons, went full time. But it's like after that first race, it kind of changed everything, and I've never missed a race since. So, knock on wood.
Knock on wood, yeah.
Lagged out of a couple, which sucks because that also cost me a championship a couple seasons ago. But
And also
second
we
for
were
life, man.
we were talking about that pre-podcast, Second for Life. How many was it? 8 out of 10 championships you've competed in, you've finished second in points.
Going for 9 out of 10 this season. I'm getting second.
To the same person too, and that adds to it, in my opinion.
I got second to Cartman once.
Once to Cartman,
Okay,
which
that
you
is correct,
missed
yeah.
one race that season, but the rest have been to DLJ, and I think that's a good kind of transition into you and DJ, right? You guys are kind of Tom and Jerry, one chasing after the other. Not even just in GTA NASCAR, just like you guys, ever since I started racing, especially in core, however many years ago I started racing in playlists over there, it was kind of always you guys 1-2 when, another fast guy probably wasn't there. It was just you guys going out. Where did you guys kind of get together and kind of form your, I don't know, alliance, so to speak?
It was kind of the first time we ever really worked together. So DJ actually was at those Apex events, and I didn't really know it at the time because he wasn't near as fast as he is now. But he was at those Apex events, and I think I'd friended him, but he wasn't really. He had some real life stuff going on. He wasn't really joining the playlist, and I'm sure you'll have him on this podcast eventually, and he'll tell you more. But he actually started off as a T-shirt for Nodo. And then
And also explain what T-shirt, because Jeremy and I had no clue what T-shirt meant
so back
before.
then, if back then in the community, you had the really fast crews. You had like Race, Ware, Brink, like all Apex, all those ridiculously fast crews. And then you had Sweat Buckets and Noto. And those were the two YouTube crews. Those were the T-shirts, the people who just want to be there because they saw it on YouTube. And I mean, it brought some very fast people to us, like DJ and everybody. But I mean, it was some people's first introduction to the racing community. But like nobody in the actual crews looked at them and went, "Hey, those are competitors." Like everybody's like, "Ah, those are just randoms." And so they got the nickname T-shirts because like they're just making those crews to sell T-shirts.
Just wanted to be, yeah.
But DJ, he started off in Nodo, and then he found Core, and then I don't know how he found Core.
And when we have
But
him on, we'll obviously go through
oh yeah,
that. We expect to have him on at some point as well.
I can't wait. I'm sure his story will be amazing too. But we got him. He was in there, and I noticed he slowly started getting faster. And it was about the S Pro event is where he got to where he was battling for playlist wins every time. And that's when I was like, okay, we're at the same speed. We're both winning a lot of featured races. Let's do this thing. And so that's the first time we really ever teamed up and kind of got together really as a pair. And then really when we started doing the TNS stuff, it was kind of the same thing. It was like, okay, we're going to work together. One of us are going to win this championship. And we almost got me to win season 2, and then he won season 3 and all the rest since. But I mean, that's kind of how me and him met and started working together.
So, okay, so kind of shifting gears backward a little bit. So, in core, you guys, are getting better and better, kind of by the playlist and whatnot. When was it that you kind of realized, in core at least, that you could kind of compete for playlist wins and just race wins in general? How long from when you joined to when you started being able to? How long was that period?
It was right off the bat. I won in my first playlist. It was I can't remember the name of the track, but it's the only track Daniel runs at night. And it was that playlist I joined to do the race after for the NASCAR race, and I won a race in there. And so I was already fast when I got
pretty right off the bat.
I mean, it took me a little while to learn the tracks, learn all the core tracks, and then get up to speed. Because back then the playlist it had everybody. It had Murphos, Neo, Levicate, Manny, AK YOLO, Uchiha. I mean, it was just the who's who of people. So like there were some nights it was like top 5's a good deal. But it took forever to actually get a playlist win.
And Rhino also has a great question, which we'll touch on in a little bit, that kind of shifts away from the GTA scheme of things. But I just want to kind of finish up on kind of what we're talking about right now, and kind of your journey through core and your kind of the introduction into being a regular in the community. And this is a question actually from earlier. Let me go back and see. Oh, it's actually Goodfellow who asked this. And I also want to know, what was your most memorable moment being in core, up to now? And I know you're not, is not as active in core anymore.
It has to, hands down,
yeah.
It has to be winning the Devil's 99. So for people who don't know what that event is, it'll never happen again. It is the most painful event I have ever did. It lasted, I think, 4.5 hours long or something. And it was 99 laps on the Devil's Loop, which was the premier featured racetrack. Like, if you were going to win a feature, it was the first featured race I ever won was on Devil's Loop. And if you were going to win a featured race, that was the one. And one of the members in core. Her name's Miss Lawson. She's an amazing person. Probably one of the best people. A lot of people have found the racing community through her. She's an amazing person. She had threw out the idea of like, it was the Halloween before we did it. She's like, why don't we do 99 laps on the Devil's Loop for Halloween? And everybody thought, oh, that's crazy. That'd take forever. It was a joke. Well, we didn't do it that year. Well, it started getting closer to Halloween the next year. And I brought it up. Like, I made a poster and put it on the website. And I was like, oh, Devil's Loop coming soon. Like, just as a joke. Well, it got brought up again. And then apparently, like, everybody said, yeah, we'll do it. I don't think none of us really realized how long it was going to take or what hell was going to ensue in that race. But everybody's like, yeah, let's do it, let's do it. So we ended up setting a day, like we're going to do it on Halloween that year. Well, everybody thought it was a great idea until about lap 15, when we were almost half an hour to 45 minutes in, and we realized this was about to be a long haul. And that race...
This is going to be a big one.
God, that race led to people getting kicked, led to just an absolute... I was so relieved to finish it, let alone win it. But man, winning that race and just really finishing that race was a massive accomplishment, and I'll never feel the pain of standing up after 4.5 hours after sitting in the same position again, though.
What time did that race even start?
I don't know when it started. It started early in the day, I think. But I mean, we didn't calculate how long. It was kind of one of those things where you're like, it won't take that long. Because, nobody ever figured up the time limit. But it was definitely a race.
We got another question here from Dr. No, kind of on the same trajectory as that last one. He says there's been a lot of competitive drivers that have been coming back to the core playlist. I'm assuming he's referring to the band drop. And he says, why don't you join the core playlist anymore? So, or will you join the core playlist?
I've joined a couple. I don't know. It kind of got to. I started getting burnt out on GTA, and I love the core playlist. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But I just started getting burnt out, and I was doing like 2 playlists a week, and then I was doing like the Roval series, and then TNS, and it kind of got to be too much.
Sure.
And so I just kind of got to pick where I'll race now, because I don't want to get burnt out again.
Yeah.
So I won my last race that I was on the core playlist, so kind of like to leave it at that too.
Go out with a win. Understand?
Yeah.
Best way to go.
Leave it with a win.
But no, the core playlist is amazing, and I'll probably make more starts in the future. It's just one of those things where it's on a weekday. I got to get up from work early in the morning, so, and I don't want to get burnt out.
Yeah, understandable. So some other things that have come into the chat here. Bulldog says Stig is literally top 3 of the best people he's ever met and racing with on GTA. Definitely deserves a championship. Could not agree more, Mr. Bulldogs.
Gosh, I'm gonna be Mark Martin. That championship's just fucking dangling out in front of me, and I just keep like every way I can lose that thing. I won the PS4 championship, but I still can't. I count that to myself as like I won that one. And like I said, I've got that car. It's in my basically trophy garage, as you would say. But,
yes, they say a win is a win.
So yeah. Rhino says, what came first, GTA or Minecraft? And that's a great question, because that brings me to the creator side of things, and I want to touch base there.
Definitely GTA. I didn't start playing Minecraft really until here recently. Which that's just a little private server some of us have, so. But yeah, definitely GTA. GTA has been since I was sophomore in high school, I think, is when it came out. I remember going to the midnight release and getting the big collector's edition. shit. And
Dang.
So do you enjoy creating more on Minecraft or in GTA Creator? Because maybe some people don't know this, but you actually have some creations on GTA, some racetracks.
I do, and really, I'd made some tracks like early on in PS4, just kind of screwing around with it, just seeing, because I'd seen people make tracks, and I was like, that can't be that hard. Well, it's if you don't create tracks, it is ridiculously difficult. I have found out, and so I didn't do it forever. Like I made 2 or 3 tracks, I didn't do it forever. I kind of just forgot about it. Well, a guy named Carl, and I'm sure everybody from Core and outside of Core knows who Carl is. Well, he runs the Crash Unit playlist. And he went through I think he went through everybody in the cruise tracks, and he got to mine. And there was one of mine that he was fixated on. And he was like, hey, can you update this track for the Crash Unit? And I was like, what do you mean track? I don't have tracks. And he's like, update this track. And I was like, okay. So I made it 30 players and fixed it up for him. And then I made a few other tracks too, but kind of like Bob Ross, they're happy little accidents. I didn't mean to make crash tracks, but somehow I ended up making some really good ones. I think he still uses some of them.
Yeah.
Minecraft though, that's just a way for me to like just chill out throughout the week and kind of I don't know, relax, get away from everything, get away from all the GTA stuff for the week.
Sure.
Do you have any, kind of interest or ambition to getting in the creator? Because
No, it's got so advanced now. Like some of the like
yeah.
I see Metal and Rhino building tracks, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna race and let them build the tracks. I know my place. I can't compete with that. Ain't no way.
All right, so I got to ask you this while we're here. So we already know your favorite NASCAR track. That's Texas V5 by Drake, fantastic NASCAR creator. Okay, so let's go with this. Let's go with your top 3 favorite GTA NASCAR tracks. But I also want to know your top 3 GTA other tracks. So either street or rally, something like that. Top 3 in like each category, if you wouldn't mind.
So top 3 NASCAR. Texas V4 by Drake. That's number legend. I don't know why you don't like it, Jeremy.
I love that track, Drake. Don't listen to him.
Texas V4. Your Bowman Gray. Your original Bowman Gray is amazing. Also, I don't. It's like the tracks you hate, Jeremy. I just love them.
That is a terrible track, actually.
And then Barlow. I can't remember who made that track.
Tony Willie.
Yeah,
fantastic track.
Remember that track.
I love those tracks. Those are my top 3 favorite.
Okay.
The track I dislike the most, I'll go ahead and throw this bonus one in there, Jeremy, you'll love this one, is
oh gosh,
Citrus County. Your original I despise that track with a passion.
Man, why do you hate the best tracks, man?
No offense, Jeremy. I've never got it. I don't like it. I don't know.
It's not for everyone.
On that one.
Shout out to Hammerman. He likes Hammerman's version. So Hammerman, if you're watching, he loves your Citrus County.
Hammerman's is like what yours should have been. In terms of
Teddy says Citrus County next season. Hell yeah. Sorry.
Oh God. In terms of street tracks, Project GTA by Daniel. And most of these are probably going to be his tracks because I haven't did a lot of street races in a long time. Project GTA is by far one of my favorites. Just for historical value, Black Dog. That's a really good track.
I'm sure a lot of the community would agree with that one.
Also,
that's one of my favorites.
If you did not know, I hold the record on Black Dog for the fastest lawnmower.
I was going to mention that.
If anybody would like to waste half an hour of their life going after that for an April Fool's video, feel free to, because that was one of the worst decisions I've ever made. And then, probably for my third, I think it's called Rebel County, also by Daniel. That one was a really good. It was like an old Al Byers track, but much more updated and not deadly. But those are probably my top 3 in that.
So, okay. I am gonna have to pretty adamantly disagree with you on your choices there, except for Black Dog Project GTA. I just for some reason, Daniel, you are a fantastic creator. However, it's not you, it's me, as they say.
So
Just can't get that track.
fun
Just can't.
fact, I have tried to get Jeremy to do this, and I think it would be an amazing TNS race if he would add a pit lane and just smooth the back straightaway. I think it could be an amazing.
Project GTA. He's been pushing that one for a while.
I've been pushed. I think it could be the next street race in Torque.
So Rebel County. I don't think I've done that one. I thought I did all the Daniel tracks, but I'm trying. Maybe is it Rebel Rally or is it one for sure called Rebel County? Okay. Yeah. No. I'll social club it and.
Blarney's Beer Run. That's what it's called.
Okay, I have done that one. Yes, that is a good track.
That's the one that goes through the hills, right?
Yeah, and it was like at the time I was transferring from like Albauer's playlist to Daniel's playlist. That was one of the tracks that they almost had like identical. So I was like, oh, I can always do like that was I could always do good on it. I used to always do good on it. So that one was always one of my top 5.
All right, so what's your top 3 cars? I mean, we gotta ask you about the cars if we ask you about the tracks.
Oh, I mean, in the game, Hot Ring Saver. That's got to be up
there. Okay.
Man, top cars. This one's tough. I mean,
I don't know.
Really only race that one anymore, but back in the day, Itali GTO, before it was fixed. When it
bouncy
was like super bouncy.
The bouncy one? Okay.
Oh my god, I used to love that thing. Before they fixed it, it was the greatest thing in the world, and then they fucked it up and made it actually work the way it's supposed to. But that one was really good. And then probably the RE7B. That one was always a really good car. That one also before they broke it. Well, before they fixed it, when it was broken and it would go like 200 miles an hour, where everybody started throwing a fit. That's also one of my favorite. I will say my least favorite car in the game, and there's so many people who's going to disagree with that, it's the Turismo. The original Turismo. I despise racing that thing. I've never understood the hype. It wasn't popular when they released it, and then it seemed like after... I think like the T20 and Osiris came out, everybody just all of a sudden loved the Turismo. There were massive events for it, and I was like, I don't get it. Y'all didn't like it when it came out.
Yeah. So Swaggy, he's got 2 things he wants me to ask you. He says his first question was at the beginning. He said, "What was it like to have the best Brit on your team last season?" And his second question is, "What is the best bet you've ever made?" And then he said he knows what I'm on about. So whatever that means, I'm definitely interested.
Yeah. I'll speak on the best bet. I don't know if I had the best British driver on my team. But so we had a bet before the PS5 version came out of like I was almost level 1,000 in the game, and we had always because McSwaggy had a really bad lag problem, and we had nicknamed him Laggy McSwaggy. And so I made a bet with Swaggy saying, hey, if I hit 1,000, like within the month before PS5 comes out, you have to change your name to Laggy McSwaggy. You have to change it. And he was like, oh, you won't do it, bet. I can't remember what mine was, but what the fallout if I didn't win was. But I grinded the whole week. I mean, I was on it because I just wanted to see him do it. And then I waited, and I had just a little more XP to get, and they had the peyote plants out. And so at the car meet that weekend when he was there, I turned level 1,000 right in front of him. And he had to change his name. I still think he should have had to keep it forever.
He should have had to keep it.
I don't understand his new name at all. But,
yeah, no one does.
But he also needs to finish his fucking boat, and he'll understand what that means.
All right.
You want to go to another question, Jeremy, or?
If you got one, you could go ahead. I had one more question written down for him. But if
Yeah,
you,
yeah, go ahead. Mine was gonna kind of jump back into some other stuff. So,
yeah, I just had one more. What's your favorite? And that is, I think I know the answer to this, but I read it. Had written it down earlier talking to you. What is your favorite racing movie, Stig?
ooh,
Favorite racing movie?
okay.
Whew.
I know
I
it's a tough
mean,
one. You could give me a
nah.
top three if it's, but
I mean, top three, Talladega Nights.
uh
That was
huh.
that was one of the first movies I remember ever seeing in theaters as a kid, and it's a little responsible for why I like NASCAR, I guess. But I mean, that Talladega Nights was hilarious. Days of Thunder, absolute classic. I hope they make a second one. I don't know if they're going to. And then probably Rush. If you haven't seen that about Niki Lauda and James Hunt, I recently watched. It's amazing.
I have not seen
Those are
that. I'll have to check that one out.
I'm gonna have to check that one out too. I haven't seen
Uh,
that one, but I've heard about
Days
it.
of Thunder 2 is allegedly Tom Cruise is working on it. So those rumors do exist, and I believe that we will see a Days of Thunder 2. Just
That'd be
to,
so awesome.
I really wonder if he'll make because a lot of people don't notice he actually started a few cup races shooting that movie. So I wonder if he'll come back.
That'd be epic.
But
Along the lines of what I wanted to ask, up next, a lot of people might know this, but a lot of people might not know this. But you are a pretty avid collector of die casts. Not just die casts, but I hear you have a really awesome shoe collection. And Jeremy was saying before we went on is that you are a collector of Chevy S10s.
oh yeah, I've got a lot of those. Uh, but to the shoes, I'm probably the only person who I know in the community who's got more is Bulldogs, and I envy the crap out of his collection. I mean,
Where
but
where did that
that
interest kind of start, though? Because I mean,
it kind of started
that's
in school because I never really had, like, we didn't really have a lot of money growing up, and so I'd only get like one pair of shoes a year or something. And then, kind of, once I got into high school, my dad finally started paying a lot of back child support he owed, and so my mom gave me a child support card and said, "You're going to learn how to manage money with this." Well, the first thing I did was go out and like I'd always wanted a pair of Jordans. Like I'd seen people wear it, like I want a pair of Jordans. So
hell yeah.
that's what I went out and bought. I've still got that pair actually, and I started just collecting shoes from there. But the diecast thing, I've always had them. I stopped for a while getting like the bigger NASCAR ones, like I think it's 124 scale. I stopped forever until Tyler Reddick started running Jordan schemes. And when I saw like the Jordan NASCAR, I was like, I gotta have it.
What do
Well,
you think
Kurt
about
Busch,
the? Yeah, I was gonna ask you that. What do you think about the Kurt Busch one?
oh my God, I'd never rooted for Kurt Busch in my life until that moment. And when he won that race, I literally just loaded up Lionel's website and I just waited. And I got that car. I think it's number 73 out of 2000.
Wow, I'm
But
looking at mine right now. I have that one. I had to pre-order that one.
I've got, I've actually got every one of the Jordan schemes they've made. Either I've got it or it's on pre-order right now. Even with Tyler Reddick's most recent win. Probably the coolest thing I have was his Jordan H car. They made a diecast of it, and I've shared a picture of this with Discord if anyone wants to go see it. I got that. I pre-ordered it when they brought it out, and then there was a guy on eBay who it totally everything checked out is legit, and he was selling the front bumper, like the piece of the front bumper off that car, and I had to have it, and so I got it. Well, I had the die cast, and then I had the bumper, and I was like, well, I don't have the shoes to go with this, so now I got to get the shoes. So I've got the whole set of that now. I've put a picture of it on Discord. That's probably one of my coolest kind of all-in collections like that.
What would you say your Grail is in your like entire collection?
Right now, my Grail. I've kind of already. My Grail would probably be some that I don't have. Like, I would love to have a pair of Chicago ones. That's probably my top shoe that I want right now. Uh, Actually, when my mom was going through like a bunch of some of my old baby stuff, when I was in high school, she found a pair. My first ever pair of shoes was a pair of Jordan 13 Flints from 1997 when they first released. That was my first
Hell
pair
yeah.
when I was a baby. Well, they make that in a full family size run, and he actually Jordan was supposed to wear that pair of shoes at the All-Star game that year. He'd always wear the UNC shoes for the All-Star game. Well, they mixed up and gave him the wrong pair, so he never actually did wear the Flints. But in 2020, they re-released the Flints, and I've got a pair in. I've also put this on Discord. I've got them, my original 97 from when they first came out, baby shoes, with my shoes that I can wear now, Flint 13s. So,
So, Stig, I just got some breaking news from Bulldogs. You're going to like this one. He said, I will leave you his ones in his will, Mr. Stig.
yes.
So
Thank
you're
you,
guaranteed
Bulldog.
a pair
There
of
you go.
ones. He's a man of his word.
I've got a bunch of pair of ones, but the Chicago one is just such a. I mean, it's iconic. And the amount of history it holds to Jordan and Nike and that whole company is just incredible. And I've tried they've released them twice since I've been collecting. Struck out both times, so.
The
I've also
DJ.
got the PlayStation
sorry.
Nikes too. That's a cool collaboration. They've started collaborating with Puma now, though. So sad times on that.
PlayStation did?
Yeah, they did with Paul George. They did. I've got one pair of the. I think they're PG 2.5s. I've got one pair of those, and then the PG 5s for the PlayStation 5. They did two colorways. One pair, the blue pair, released overseas only, and I had to get them imported. The white pair released globally, but I ended up getting both pairs of 5s. There's no way I'll ever get all the 2s or 3s, just due to resale value. But
So we got another question from our chat from DJ, and it said, just to kind of backtrack a little bit, how did you get into NASCAR, and what is your favorite race you've ever watched and driver?
well, I got into NASCAR. I remember the first race I ever watched. Like my grandpa was a massive NASCAR fan. He's more NHRA now that kind of all the older drivers have retired. But he used to be a massive NASCAR fan, and I'd always remember like being at their place and watching the races. And so the first race I ever watched in full was when Kevin Harvick beat Mark Martin for the Daytona 500.
Wow.
And I remember my grandpa was crushed because he wanted to see Mark get the 500. And then I actually have, back to like the collecting stuff too, I have every EA NASCAR game with every different color, every different cover that they ever made for PS2. When GameStop was getting rid of all the PS2 stuff, like when PS3 was coming out, they had those for like $1 and $2. So I ended up getting every different cover and every different year for that. And I mean, the games themselves are kind of what also helped me get into NASCAR, because it's like, oh, I can play
I
it
love
here at
those
home.
games.
I mean, they haven't made any good NASCAR games since, but
No way.
Mm-hmm.
hoping iRacing fixes that in the next few years, and hopefully we'll have a TNS series over there if everything goes good. But
Fingers crossed that they don't
yeah,
screw it up.
God,
So-
I hope they don't. It's so promising right now, but I've heard a lot of promises from a lot of companies. So
That's a good segue, actually, I think, to the next
Yeah,
stage
let's-
here, and that, of course, is the elephant in the room of GTA 6, which has been lingering over us players for 11 years now.
And it's right here basically, which is
Yeah.
I think
hard
we
to
got more
believe.
time than what they're saying. They've never released a game on time, so we'll see. But
What were
I
your
think,
thoughts on the trailer? Let's start there. So they released the first trailer, obviously, a few months back, whatever it was, broke all the records, YouTube records,
oh yeah.
already. So what were your thoughts on the trailer and what you seen in it?
Well, my first thought was like, when can I pre-order this? Like, I gotta have it. It's gonna happen. But I think obviously they're showing story mode stuff. They haven't messed up a story mode game in my opinion since I've been playing. Like, if you look at GTA with its revolutionary 3 different characters you could play as, or Red Dead 2, which is an absolute masterpiece of a game. Like, I think the story is going to be absolutely incredible. Online, I don't know. It depends what direction they think they're going to take. Like, how do they just want to keep the same winning recipe they've got here,
The format, yeah.
or do they want to jump the shark and do some fucking crazy shit and fuck it all up? I don't know. I don't think they're going to change the recipe. I think it's going to be the same. We're going to start out with like a little bit of shit, and then as stuff goes on, it's going to get way more expensive. The way they can sell shark cards, I think they'll definitely implement some kind of battle pass or something like that. Kind of already seen something like that in here, with like the achievements, how you unlock kind of T-shirts and some free cars. So I
I
think they'll
think
definitely
they're.
expand on that.
I
GTA
think what
Plus
they're.
is pretty much what you're explaining, I think, right?
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
kind of currently
Yeah,
going
which
through what it's gonna be like. I think.
a testing phase, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think everything they're doing right now is just what works and what doesn't. That way, when GTA 6 comes out, it's a bulletproof. I think it's going to be a lot more bulletproof than this game is. But I don't think they're going to change. I think the racing will still be the same. I think we'll have a creator because that's how this game has lasted so long. So it'll be very interesting to see. I'm ridiculously hyped for it. It'll definitely be a week off work for me. But
Oh yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, man, I'm gonna take a week off. I'm gonna play nothing but GTA 6 all week.
oh god, yeah.
What?
That'll,
So, what do you think GTA 6 online means for us in our community? In your
well,
opinion?
it kind
Because
I
we don't
think at
really.
the start,
Yeah.
I get. I'm really hoping that iRacing game's good. That way, even if kind of GTA 6 doesn't have a creator, or if it does have a creator, it's not as easy to build. We kind of got that buffer in between, like when we transfer. Hopefully, that iRacing game will be the kind of I don't know the bridge in between there or something, if that works. But I don't know. It could go a lot of different directions.
I agree. I'm kind of scared to be honest. Um, Kind of just based on around the fact that we pretty much don't know anything other than a trailer. Um, but I think we're gonna get a creator. I think it's going to be very similar to what we have in GTA
Oh yeah.
Online because of just the massive cash cow that it is, and I think they see money signs with a
Oh yeah.
GTA 6 Online
I think
because we're gonna
definitely.
we're gonna pay for it no matter what. I mean, if you're
Oh
a
God,
diehard
yeah.
gamer,
Yeah.
Like I've told a few people this. Like I collect like the big editions of games. Like I've got the big GTA edition. I've got a bunch of the big Call of Duty like collector's editions. Even the Spider-Man 2 collector's edition. I bought it recently. Like I am willing to pay like $500 for whatever this collector's edition. If they make a collector's edition, I will pay for it. Like they have no problem taking money right now. Like the game's already paid for with this one.
Yeah.
But one thing I've brought up to some people and they've laughed at is I think the next game, the amount of glitches that we do here is going to be drastically cut down. I think they're going to make that thing so bulletproof that way they can make as much money as possible on their end
mm-hmm.
that they're going to really cut down on glitches, which I think at the start of the game, it's going to be a madhouse. But
Oh yeah, it's gonna
I
be.
I think they'll want to, but I mean, if you even look at the release of the trailer got hacked and released a day early, so they ended up having to just release it. So I don't think their security measures are in place to not only stop that kind of attack, cyber
And
attack, but
that's
to stop glitching attacks. Because I'll tell you,
yeah,
there are some persistent communities. The glitching community,
they are very, very persistent.
I think they're going to find a way. Now,
oh yeah,
with Rockstar releasing their new policies, we were talking about it before. AI is keeping track of conversations. They're keeping track of gameplay. You can't just prey on people anymore in races or in lobbies. So I do think they're going to tighten down, like you're saying, to the extent. I mean, I hope a lot, but in terms of execution, I severely doubt their execution.
I mean, no game is ever bulletproof, but Rockstar games are typically a lot better on release day than others. And a great example of that is like Red Dead 2, when the story mode came out, barely any glitches at all. And then when online came out like 3 or 4 months later, it was already, it was ready to play. I mean, granted, you couldn't get online because the servers were so full. But I mean, if that's the only problem they're having, then it's better than most. Like Mass Effect Andromeda, that game was so bad on release day and the months to follow with just gameplay, and it was just a story game. It was so bad with that they canceled the DLC for it and kind of stopped the Andromeda project and started working on the next one, which I hated
And
that because I'm
yeah,
a massive Mass Effect fan. Like, I love the original trilogy. I thought Andromeda was alright, even though it was kind of glitchy, but it just shows, like, they know how to build a game. I almost feel like some of the glitches are left in intentionally, but kind of like you said, people are just so persistent to find ways to break the game that Rockstar about needs to just hire those people.
I think they just need to hire people from the community in general. I mean, they're a
Hmm.
thousand times better at creating tracks,
Oh God,
and then we could go on and on about that, but
Rockstar tracks are premier, man. What are you talking
So
congestion charges, but
about?
if you got three wishes, Stig, for GTA 6, I know there's a lot of improvements that could be made, but let's your top three wishes for GTA 6 and what you're hoping to see. What would those be?
I want a creator. That way, you guys can do your thing, and we can keep this thing. We can keep it going over there. I want character transfer, but only like kind of like more so just
oh,
like your
my car's
character, like
back,
how we've
man.
designed it, how we've designed our characters now. Because like I've had this one since PS3. I know it
Hmm.
probably won't happen, but I mean I've had this character for like 10, 11 years now. I'd like to see some sort of character transfer, whether it's just the character itself, the character, and like what everything on this account's worth. Like I don't know how that's gonna work.
Sure.
And then I don't know, probably just like maybe a NASCAR on like the hot ring on release day. That would be nice. I don't know if they'll do that. I feel like that'll be a DLC down the road. But
They've always loved the hot ring, so I have just found this information out, but the hot ring was actually in Vice City,
oh
and
Yeah,
yeah,
it so they've always had this affection for it, and the community. I mean, minus when the stunt community was at its peak, when biggest community, but the hot ring community is thriving. Like
it's
everywhere is
huge.
dead right now, and hot ring lobbies, playlist events are full across the board from this side of the ocean all to European events. They're full over there too. So I got to think that it's at the top of their priority
oh yeah.
list in terms of which cars need to be out there online.
And I think going back like to the history of GTA, I think as much crap as we've gave Mozilla over the years, his Talladega definitely influenced us getting that car when we did.
Oh,
That
one,
track's
I
got
agree with that.
that's got like 10 million plays or something, doesn't it? It's some crazy massive number.
So
Yeah,
they've got that has something that has to do with it, with that, how they released it.
yeah.
I
So
honestly
there is
never even
actually a
realized that.
picture of his Talladega track in the. So if you go back on Twitter, the Rockstar Games Twitter account, and look at the release of the Hot Ring Saber, the picture they use, the background is the banking with the ammunition sign in the background of Marcellus Talladega. Um, that is fact. You could go and look that
Oh yeah.
up. So yeah, no, it's definitely he was a big part of that for sure.
Did not even realize that. But I remember that, hearing about that.
Because I mean,
Um,
that was like the first complete NASCAR track we had ever seen, and I was like,
Yeah.
holy crap!
It's funny. We got Wig Splitter
Make
in the
more.
chat right now. So those
Wig's a
two,
big part of that
Wig
as well.
Oh
Splitter
yeah,
and
those two were the
Mozilla,
big ones.
they started the NASCAR on the PS side. Of course, I don't know about Xbox or PC, but over here, those two are the OGs. Thanks for tuning in, Wig.
Yep.
In terms of creators, those two are amazing. And then you've got like creators now like Metal and Rhino, who absolutely masterpieces of tracks. Like I could never do that. Like they're some of the most beautiful tracks I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, that's the evolution. So throughout the years, back in like you started way early, you see the old school tracks, and they're blocking off telephone poles with tire stacks and all that, to the tracks you're seeing now. By Rhino, and not even in just this community. If you look outside of this community and the CV program community, those tracks that are being published now are they're just incredible. I mean, I know it's a video game, but they almost look video game-esque in a sense of like they
Oh
were
yeah.
created by
They're
developers.
created by, yeah.
Well, it's like you look at
It's
the
insane.
pictures I took from the races. Like some of those look like they're from a NASCAR game. Like the Daytona ones, the way he's got the grandstands and stuff, like that looks like that's straight out of a NASCAR game, not a
And those
GTA game.
and those pictures are phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, your social club, that's a good point. I see on social club I'm very active, and your pictures get a lot of love on there for sure.
Oh yeah, there's one from this past weekend that got like 15, 16 likes, I think. But
Nice.
it's weird how that works though. It's like sometimes pictures you think are great won't get any love, and then pictures you think are garbage will get 20, 30, 40 likes. And it's like I don't know how to please you people. I just like taking pictures of Swaggy wrecking.
Yeah, that's you posted in our chat the picture you took of him, his ass getting lifted off the ground.
It seems like when I record for pictures though,
A wreck
you got
happens.
it's like you guys race the best races you've ever did. Nobody wrecks, everybody's in line. The minute I turn that recording off, it's like all hell breaks loose. And I'm like, come on, people.
Well, I don't think anybody would want to join if they see a picture of us all wrecking. I mean,
It just looks
Yeah,
cooler though,
that's
like
true.
having like a couple pictures in accidents, you know? I don't know. For me, it looks cooler in pictures, but
We're only putting the good pictures on Instagram, so not the wrecks. So yeah, Swaggy's in the chat. He's unimpressed with you right now. He just said, "Wow."
he said, "Wow, yeah."
hey, he asked me where the pictures were that weekend, so I made sure to get him in a picture. I'd missed a couple of weeks, and he was like, "Hey, when are you doing the pictures?" So I pleased Swaggy.
To give him a little bit of love.
Yeah.
Both of mine are crashes, he says. Well, Stig, I think we're at a good point to, I'll give you a chance after this to get anything out there you want to say. But I think we're at a good point to wrap this up. I definitely appreciate you coming on the show and telling your story. I know you and I have become friends over the years, but I wanted you to, get your story out there and everybody else to to hear what you had to say, because I think it bleeds through that, you're a good guy, you're a humble dude. It's an honor to obviously race with you every week. We're happy that you're there and everything you do for Torque, and appreciate you coming on, sharing your story. I know Vapid probably going to want to touch up on that, but yeah, man, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, I want to thank you for coming on as well, because I mean, I just want to say, you and I have had some of my favorite battles in Sunday racing that I've ever been a part of, and I've always just enjoyed racing around you for all the years that we have raced together, and we're thankfully enough, racing in the same season once again. But I just want to say, when the first time we raced against you, I think it was, or the first time I raced against you was a Martinsville event in Core.
Oh yeah,
Daniel hosted, one. And I think you and I got into it a little bit during that race, mixed it up. But up to that point, I never really raced anybody that hard.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, damn, that was.
I remember that event. That was a good one.
That was a fun event. Yeah.
So we had. That was like when we'd started hearing about Torque. I think that was like when you guys were in season 1.
Yeah. That was
like the first kind of crossover Torque had with Core, and we loved that track. That track was awesome, like amazing track.
By Wig Splitter, by the way.
Yeah, and we really weren't feeling the caution thing, but we were like, hey, let's do a NASCAR event kind of our way. We won't do catch-up. We'll make it kind of like a serious event. No cautions. And then the qualifying for that was amazing.
That was awesome.
I came up with that idea to do one car I thought that was fucking cool. But yeah, that was the first kind of crossover. Yeah. But the first event I remember doing with you guys, especially, is the Indy 500 for Owl Rock.
Yes, and I remember that.
That's why we never did Owl Rock events, is because in that race everybody's like saying, "Oh, don't!" It's me, DMX, and DJ, and Muxie. He was in there.
Muxie, yeah, that's right.
And all four of us we did that same thing that we were doing with S-Pro. We were like, we're gonna team up and we're gonna go in there and beat them. But we knew you guys were working together, so it's like it's gonna be a little harder this time. Well, throughout that race, you guys the Owl Rock guys were like, "Oh, don't let those core guys win. Don't let the core guys win." And then I once again was second for life. Yeah, I was once again second for life. Magnus beat me by a foot to the finish line. Shout out to Magnus. But that's the first time I remember racing with a lot of you guys.
But yeah,
it's always been an honor to race with you guys. It's an honor to be on the Senate now and be here on this podcast. I thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, and we're definitely glad to have you. Hopefully, stick around for as long as possible. I mean,
I don't plan on going anywhere no time soon.
I love racing against you. I know Jeremy loves racing against you. Everybody watching thinks very highly of you, and yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd say there's a few people out there. I know a few people
don't
like me very well, but that's a story for a different day.
But I think that's just
they respect the level of the competition you bring. You know what I mean? And that goes without saying.
Oh yeah.
As they always say, if you don't got enemies, are you really doing anything?
Hey, if they ain't hating on you, you ain't doing something right.
And you're definitely doing it right. But thanks for coming on once again. And Jeremy, if there's anything else, I mean, I think we've pretty much touched everything possible.
Yeah, no, all good for now. We're gonna episode 4 will be probably about a month from now. We got next 2 guests lined up. We're not gonna announce that yet, but thanks everybody for tuning in. Still got almost 15 people in the chat. We had almost 30 in there pretty much the whole time. So everybody, obviously go subscribe to Wreck and Randy and Gamerstig. I'll have their YouTubes linked to this video once I go and edit it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. As long as you guys are enjoying them, we're going to keep doing them. So it's important to get these stories out there while we can. So appreciate y'all tuning in, and thank you, Vapid. Rick and Randy. So we'll catch you all on the next one.
Yeah, later, guys.
See ya.